is Anna from LeximbueJournals. I hope everybody's well today. I'm not going to bore you with the social distancing small talk anymore, and I think we're all on the same wavelength at the moment. But what I wanted to talk to you today about is something else. It's escapism. It's all about escapism, and I think at the moment we're in a time in our lives where escapism is something that is quite welcome for a lot of us. So I decided to make a journal about fairy tales and folklore. And it's not the first one I've made on fairy tales, and you know I like to return to the same subject a lot of the time, because I like to make journals about things that I'm personally very passionate about and I love. So fairy tales and folklore is one of my greatest passion, and it's all related to the Dark Ages, because Dark Ages were a time where a lot of there was a lot of a mix of reality and fantasy, and what people would sing, others, and what they would talk about, and the troubadours and epic poetry and all that. So it's all related, and I think that of all the different types of fairy tales, the darkest and the most obscure, and one of you used that word, obscure, so that's how I titled this one. It's an obscure fairy tale journal, and so the most obscure fairy tales are the ones told by the Norwegians. I think they are amazing. So what I've done here is I've created a journal that has some of the fairy tales that I have liked very much by the Norwegians, and the last week I read a few of them because I wanted to decide which one I wanted to make. And being an eternal romantic, of course I chose one that had a princess in it, and it had a shape-shifting creature, an animal that, well, I say shape-shifting, but what I really mean is that the Norwegians loved giving a character to animals with a human traits. So some of these animals were almost like they were humans that were trapped in an animal's body. So these two men, Mo and Asbjørnsen, in the 19th century went out into the countryside and they collected all the fairy tales that they could collect from word of mouth, stories people told and all that. They actually turned all the myth that they heard and the folklore into fairy tales that were collected in a book, or Norse folklore. And the book was published in 1879. And in that edition we find also some amazing imagery, illustrations and drawings by the artists such as Hans Gude, Eilif Petersen, Otto Sinding, Adolf Tidemann and Erik Verenskjold, and also a very well known one was Theodor Kittelsen. And these artists defined the imagery of Norse folklore. So I hope you get. I mean, I hope I've kind of selected what would be interesting to hear about in this. So always remember that the Norwegian fairy tales have a certain characteristic. They like to combine the animals shaping or shifting into humans or having human characteristics. And of course they have the supernatural elements and the fantasy there. There is no time span. So they will always be, once upon a time, they were always quite abstract when it came to a time. But that is something that we find in most fairy tales, because most fairy tales begin with once upon a time. I will show you the journal that I've chosen two fairy tales that I liked most, and I illustrated the journal with these fairy tales, and I'll show you the journal. But first of all I want to tell you this, which we made together last Friday, is going with the journal. This is a collage, and I'm not going to fold it or anything, but I will try and roll it and put it inside the box rolled and as much as I can. So just a reminder that I've chosen courier, to post by courier. It's a safe way. Up to now, all the journals that I've sent, the last 4 or 5 journals I've sent have arrived in very good time, short time, and they've arrived. So knock on wood, we'll continue that way. So this is the journal, and I think a lot of you have seen it on Instagram, but this is it. And the color, I wanted to make a blue. I made it. Last time I had made a green journal, deep colored journal, green journal, and this time I wanted something in this kind of blue, which reminds me very much of the sea in Greece. So I found the right blue, and I'm very, very happy because this is just a gorgeous blue. And I made a journal for myself, which is just plain on the front, and I'll show that to you on our Crafting Friday session. I'll show you that journal, because if anybody likes one like that, they can ask me and I will make it for them. And this is the cover is the girl that is on the bear, the princess on the bear. And that's one of the fairy tales, and it's a very complicated fairy tale, this one, because I was reading it again. I've read it 2 or 3 times just so that I can understand, but you know, it was just to understand how it worked, and it was quite complicated. So sorry, there's a purple burgundy closure, and lots of lace, lots of handmade lace here, lots of beautiful lace. So yes, this story with the bear, the princess and the bear. It's called White Bear King Valemon, if I'm not mistaken with the pronouncing, and if anybody is from up north, the Norse countries, please tell me if I'm making a mistake with these names. That's one of the main stories that I've used for this journal, like imagery, and the other one is Princess Turstar, Princess Cottongrass. And that is such a beautiful story, and it's about this princess that she notices a moose passing by, and she sees how strong and elegant and tall and beautiful that moose is, and she begs him to take her on his back and to ride across the country, and for her and to teach her about the world and life. So he reluctantly agrees, and she goes onto his back, and they start traveling, and she's wearing a gold crown, her gold crown, and her garment, her dress, and they started traveling around, and they have different adventures, and in every adventure, he gives her instructions. Every time they approach a magical place in the forest, he gives her instructions, and he says, "Be careful. You have to hold on, and do not let go of them. Otherwise, something terrible might happen to you." And of course, they encounter elves, and they encounter a witch, and all sorts of other creatures, and every time they encounter one, a strange creature, she forgets, and she releases her hands, and she loses something, and eventually she's completely naked, and she loses her crown, and they reach a lake, and that's where she's told, very strictly instructed, not to look inside, not to look into the waters, and she does. Before she even realizes, she hears the instructions but doesn't realize, and she does, and she bends down, and her gold chain, with the gold heart that her mother had gifted her when she was born, slipped off and fell into the water, and she lost her gold heart, and she didn't want to go back home without the gold heart, so she stayed there and kept staring into the water, and eventually she turns into a plant, the cotton grass, and she stays there forever. Moose keeps coming back every year and visiting her, and smiles at her, and she might be smiling back, we don't know, but that's the end of the story. So that's quite a sad story, very mystical, and I'm sure it has a lot of messages to give to us. This journal is going to be up on Etsy this Saturday, tomorrow, and it will go, as I said, with the collage, the semblance that we made last week. So let's have a look at it inside. Okay, so here we are. I hope the light is good. Please let me know in the end of this video if this light is not right, and I will return to my other space. As you would have guessed now, this This cover is the White Bear King Valaman story from that fairy tale. Okay, so let's have a look inside. I've chosen this paper that is like being in the woods, and it's got the blue in it as well. So it's just I just love this kind of this the way this paper looked on this journal. So not much to say. It's handmade paper, Indian. Handmade paper, so it's lovely, absolutely lovely. So I've added this page as well onto it, and there's some handmade vintage lace, and here I have included the part of the story of the moose, the Princess Turstar and Scuttlemoose, as it's called also. Gold thread, a lot of gold thread, which I've started using in certain journals because I think it just looks beautiful. And it's not the type of thread that can be used in a sewing machine, so I just incorporate it in the different in the different sewing areas what I use. So this image is from East of the Sun and West of the Moon. That's that fairy tale, which was in 1922, and it has been illustrated by Kay Nielsen, and one of the people that I have mentioned. And this is a corner pocket here. And I would just have to say this journal is really, really thick. I've used a lot of paper here, so I have decorated as much as I could, but I had to stop with the decorating because I want to leave it to the new owner to do what they like with it. Make it any thicker, and it is quite thick, so bear that in mind, that it's a thick book. So this is the princess sleeping, Princess Cottongrass or Turstar sleeping in the woods, and the moose is there looking after her, and he finds it a little bit tricky, the whole thing, because he has to stay up at night and guard her while she's sleeping, and that makes him a little bit frantic about her safety. So that can be seen through the story. As the story progresses, how he gets more irritable and worried about her. This is fairy tale paper, and there's a side pocket here, and I've used lots of blue thread as well, same color as the journal. There's another corner pocket here, and this is just another image, and it's Lena dancing with the knight. From another fairy tale. Handmade lace, which also is made with this lovely thread, and it looks like silk. It's just gorgeous. So I've added quite a bit of scrapbook paper, which has made it actually thicker, but I just thought it would look nice on this journal. This is an image by John Bauer, another wonderful artist. And you see a troll and a princess up there. And it was made in 1912. So I've got quite a few Bauer images in here as well. This is The Princess in the Forest by Bauer again. And this is a pocket, lovely pocket, with a forest image here. And I've used these tags that also are very much like a fairy tale tags, which I found. And this paper as well. Here's a pocket, and it's got a part of a fairy tale written onto it. And here's some happily ever after paper. And another corner here, corner pocket, another corner pocket, and this is the princess again, the Princess Daga by Bauer. She's again in the forest, and this is just beautiful with a wolf, and it's just a mix of the skies and cosmos. It's actually called Cosmos, this paper, and a wolf here. It's just gorgeous, and the moon. here is a shell button, a vintage shell button, which is actually belong to my family. I have a few vintage shell buttons that I use, and here is a bead and a little silver bead as well here, and some handmade lace. It's like a trial, little sample. Somebody tried to work on a new design here, so I've got that there. That was my grandmother's lace, and there's a side pocket here, another side pocket here, and there's a prince in his blue cloak there. There's another fairy tale, and they've all been coffee dyed, so they're quite thick, and the texture is quite thick. So, and this is Princess Bella hiking, 1912. Look at that, with a bear. They definitely have a communication there. And there's a pocket, and there's another pocket with a journaling card here. Cosmos again. So these papers are Once Upon a Time papers. That's what they're called, if I'm not mistaken. And there's another one here. A couple of tags. And a couple more in the pocket. This is so cute. And this is a little princess, tiny princess, and talking to this little boy. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the 7 Wishes, and it's by Bauer. It's another journaling card here, which can be used for, well, the other side doesn't really, you can't really write on, but it's beautiful. I love these. And there she is on the moose, riding in the night in the moon, with the moon. And they're leaving the forest, because there's a part of the story where they leave from the big forest, the big dark forest. This is just a little collage of different handmade paper that I've added here, and this is some Italian paper. And another lace here. This is almost like an image, isn't it? And some more handmade paper that I've attached onto the page. These papers are very fine, very thin, so they can be they can be added into the journal without thickness added to it, more texture. There she is again on the moose, and here it says she quickly rode away on the elk. And you can see she's got her dress here. She has taken her dress off because she likes to feel a bit more free. And there's the witch, and the witch is trying to trick her so she can take her dress away, and she does. She takes her dress away, so she's left without her dress. So she basically, what she's doing is gradually trying to release herself from she wants to feel free. And in the end she turns into a plant. Into a flower. Some more journaling cards here. I'll turn this side up. And this beautiful paper that you know how much I love. And there she is in the woods crying because she has lost her crown, I think, at this stage, and her dress. There's the moon. This image is I just love this image. It's like paper torn around, and then you can see the moon there and the woods. And here is the Princess with a Troll, and this one is titled "The Troll Mother Seeks a Wife for Her Son." And there's some more of this. More cards. Moose. You see, I have to stay here for a second. Look at all these images behind it. Just amazing. Really, really lovely paper. There's just a bit of handmade paper here. And there's the princess on the bear. The white bear riding. And there's definitely, the stories definitely involve princesses and animals riding them. And a lot of the fairy tales don't end well, which is another thing about the Norwegian fairy tales. They're a bit like Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales. They don't always have a happy ending. They don't always say, and they lived happily ever after, which just makes them a bit more realistic. Because once humans start messing around with nature and creatures that are not human, they're witchy characters, there is sometimes very little hope of being able to escape. There's some more of this great imagery here. More of another different type of lovely lace here. Look at that. This one is Among Gnomes and Trolls. There's another side pocket with card, and this is the end. And again, this is the ex libris, that is LeximbueJournals. And this is the end. So this is the journal. This little leaf will go with it, just to be attached wherever one likes inside the journal. I had it attached, it fell off, so I didn't want to sew it on. I just thought maybe one would like to just decide where to put it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and it wasn't too long. So we will be talking again very soon. Today's Friday. I'm going to be, this weekend I'm going to have another crafting video at some stage, and I'll let you enjoy this video first and look at the journal. This one will be up on Etsy tomorrow evening after 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. UK time. And if you find this time is not very suitable for people from different parts of the world that might like to have a look at the journal on Etsy and might want to be given some time, let me know, and we can adjust the timing of when I'm uploading it on Etsy for sale. We can adjust the times for other journals in the future. So thank you so much for watching again. Take care, and we will be talking very soon with a new journal that I've got for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.